Welcome back to the eDiscovery channel, live at
ILTACON22.
Woohoo!
Peter.
Okay. Peter.
Yes.
How are you?
Lovely.
Awesome. Okay, quick question.
Peter, what's the capital of Bolivia? Wrong.
Okay, next. What's the most exciting thing that you've seen? Sure. Right, that one. Yes.
Video. Monte A tracker.
What's the most exciting thing that you've seen at Ilta so far?
Present company excluded.
Of course.
Yeah, I don't know. That's tough.
Okay, next question.
Go for it.
Some of the folks are doing some interesting things, stitching together different pieces of platforms to make it more cohesive.
Okay.
So that's nice. There's not as much for the Discovery crowd as there has been in past years.
Right. Yep.
I think everybody recognizes that. It's becoming, I guess, what it used to be a long time ago. More broad-based, aimed at the legal technology market as a whole. But it does make it a little strange for folks that are used to knowing everybody in the room to know, a third of the people or less in the room.
Yep, absolutely true.
Yeah.
And is there any one thing specifically that you came to the show to try to find or to learn?
I come to ILTA every year for the same reason, and that is to find out what should I be doing that I'm not doing.
And what's the answer?
I haven't heard it yet this year.
Okay.
A decade or so ago, it was you should be encrypting everything. I'm like, oh.
That's an idea.
We haven't been encrypting everything. We should.
Yep.
It's not
So
blockchain?
we immediately started, I'll figure out blockchain. When we have a use case, I'll call you. But that's what I come for. Is what should I be doing that I'm not doing, that my peers here, the people that sit in my chair at other places, that they're doing.
Highlight of the show for you? Anything yet? I know it's only day 2.
TBD.
Very good.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks.
All right, thanks.
So hi, I'm Sonia Jenkins, Senior Manager at T-Mobile. Just wanted to say hi to Tom and Rachi. I'm really looking forward to learning more about AI since that is my weakness and understanding how to apply it in my job.
Is there anything that you've seen at the show that you were wowed at, or wow, I got to learn more about that?
Not yet, but I'm hoping so.
Okay. And anything that you came specifically to try to learn other than AI, any vendor, any tools specifically?
No specific tools, but really into how to help the corporation really dig into their legacy data, which is our sore spot.
Okay. And do you feel that ILTA at this point is hitting on the corporate
Yes,
side?
hopefully so, because that's where it all really lies with us. Law firms don't make money without us.
That is true. Well, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
Great to meet you also.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep. Cool.
Thanks, y'all.
Okay.
Zoltan Horvath with Quizlix, Client Service Advisor.
So very quickly, what have you seen at the show so far that's excited you?
Some real estate lease software.
Interesting. Okay.
Naya is the name of it.
Okay. And what about it? Just
It's a
or?
cool tool. Does a lot more. It's got little document management features in it as well. Cloud-based, kind of new. A lot of law firms and big banks are using it.
Okay. Very cool.
And
Nice.
it's a partner from Kelly Dry that helped develop it and his team. Excellent.
Okay. Anything that you were specifically came to the show and you were looking for that you haven't seen yet, or?
No, it's more technology related CLM technology we're looking for. Just since that's what we do for our clients. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks for stopping.
Okay. Who are you?
Hi, I'm Joe Cusimano. I'm the Associate Director of Lead Support at Casualties.
Okay, and you're here at Ilta.
I'm here at Ilta.
And what's exciting? What have you seen that you're like, wow, that's cool?
What about? I was attended a great session today on knowledge management workflows.
Okay. And what have you basically, what did you come to Ilta for? Was there anything specifically that you wanted?
I came to Ilta. I've been a member for a long time, and I'm speaking on a panel tomorrow for the first time in a long time.
Awesome. What's it about?
It's about communicating with case teams and trying to explain without technical details to non-technical people.
Right. Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks for joining.
My pleasure.
There we go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the eDiscovery channel live at ILTACON22 on day whatever it is. I don't know. It's all
17,
it's all
24.
It's like the Gregorian calendar of technology. I don't know what it is. We're here. Who cares? This is our good friend Craig Bear.
What, you didn't know his name?
I wanted to see if he still remembers his name. It is day 3 or 4.
Right, exactly. So,
Craig, what do you do?
So I'm a NetDocs consultant. So I have a company that helps law firms move to a legal document management that's based in the cloud. We've done that for 306 law firms and counting. So
You get that elevator pitch down.
yeah, nicely done. So, why, I mean, obviously, to meet with clients or whatever, but is there anything that you're coming to ILTA to specifically see?
I wanted to go to a lot of sessions about Teams. That was because that's the big thing, and we've rolled out Teams for some of our clients. We have an integration with NetDocs now. We're using it at our thing, and I want to see how Big Law is using Teams and how that's going to trickle down to clients our size, which are usually between 10 and 100.
Okay. And did you feel you were successful with the sessions, or?
Yeah. Really good sessions. I mean, there were, especially today, a lot of sessions that aren't just theory. It's like, this is exactly how we do this. This is how we roll out our channels, that sort of thing. So
Awesome. And
Which I think, by the way, I don't know if you agree, is the strength of this show is it's people who,
Yeah.
who've done this, who've solved the problem, and they're going to tell you how they solved the problem, which somebody like you wants to know.
yeah, exactly. I'm not theory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then lastly, was there anything that like you saw that you were like, wow, that's cool, like really exciting, something new, something different?
Well, this is, I mean, and maybe this is kind of lame, but I just, one of the classes we went over in Office 365, how to basically publish messages to your users in like Word and Outlook and stuff like that, which I had no clue existed.
Yep.
And we can really use that for like rollout and user adoption purposes. So, pretty basic, but something I
That's
never
cool.
knew. Yeah.
Exactly.
So overall, it's successful.
Yes,
You think coming in?
absolutely, and a lot of people here.
Yes.
Always nice to see people face to
The
face.
turnout was good. Yeah.
Awesome.
Great.
Cool. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much. Always great to see you.
Okay.
What's the capital of Bolivia?
Pause?
La
Paz? No.
Close.
I should know, but
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Hi, eDiscovery Channel update, flashback. Here we are, day 2 of 3 or something.
Something like that.
Yeah, at Iltecon. Okay,
Right.
George Sosha. What are you seeing? What's cool? What's now? What's happening? What are you liking here?
You know, I think the coolest thing, what I like here most, is that we have people here. Compared to a year ago when
Right.
we were at this thing in Las Vegas,
Right.
we could have set up a bowling alley in the exhibit hall and hurt nobody.
I said to somebody, the
There
Raiders
were-
could have been practicing in there. Nobody would have noticed, right?
Yeah, there were easily 1,000 people in the exhibit hall last night.
Yeah,
for
it was
the
great.
opening.
And great energy, right?
Yeah.
David Horrigan?
As so often is the case, I find myself agreeing with George Sosha. He hit the nail on the head. People. I thought last year at Las Vegas was great too, because that was really the first time we'd seen a lot of people in person. And at the Litigation Support Roundtable, we had a nice crowd, nothing like this, but I mean, we had people there.
Yeah.
But this, like George said, the energy is back. People are here, and it's great seeing you two as well.
Any wow factors? Anything you saw that you're like, wow, I didn't expect that? Is wow part of technology anymore?
Well, I don't know. This is going to sound real geeky into the weeds, but you were there at the litigation support roundtable this morning.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that everybody thought in the polling, almost everyone, 80%, thought you should always have an ESI protocol.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, the problem is?
The problem is that can get you into trouble.
Yeah, but then they call me.
Ah, there you go.
And on that happy note, we'll say thanks, everybody. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time. Okay, everyone. Tom O'Connor, eDiscovery Channel. Don't know where Rocky Messing is.
Do we ever know?
Yeah, that's a good point. All I know is he's not here next to me. Susan Stone, AT&T, longtime friend and compatriot here. ILTACON22, how you liking it? Number one.
It's been good. It's been good sessions, yeah.
What have you liked the most? Can you?
I think there have been a lot of really good sessions. I went to one about the metaverse, which is really interesting, and looking forward to seeing what legal implications that might have going forward. So,
anything that you were particularly looking for when you came here?
nothing particularly. We just released some new products, and so we're just trying to see what else is out there for our legal ops group.
And Any surprises? Any wow? That was cool sort of moments?
Not yet. It's only day 2, so we'll see.
All right. Thanks so much, Susan. Great talking to you.
Thanks, Tom.
Hi, everybody. Tom O'Connor from the eDiscovery Channel, continuing our series on ILTACON22. And I'm here with Craig Baer of Optiable, coming to us live today from Washington, D.C. Right, Craig?
That is correct.
All right. How you doing?
Good, really good. Recovering from ILTA.
Exactly. I'm just purging the last remnants of the vendor Kool-Aid from my system. So listen, why did you go to ILTACON 22?
Well, I mean, I had not been to ILTA before COVID, so I really just wanted to go kind of to see everyone, to see all the vendors. I've always felt ILTA was the place where I could kind of figure out what trends are happening in big legal that trickle down to law firms I work with. This is usually 10 to 100 users. So I just kind of wanted to see what was up. And It was in DC, so it was a little easier to get to.
Right. And so what did you see that hopefully you got something from?
So what I kind of expected, but I got a lot of good information about Microsoft Teams, how Teams are being used in law firms, how it's being used in training and things like that. A lot of stuff I didn't even think about to roll out new products to keep lawyers and their staff up to date, and a lot of good training techniques, stuff like that. I mean, really, really good sessions.
So real practical, hands-on, useful information for you.
Absolutely. Not just the theory on, you should use Teams and that's it. No, like this is how we use it. Here's some sessions at checklists, which I love, on how firms are doing certain things.
Right. And quick aside, how do you compare boiled Chesapeake Bay crabs to crawfish?
Not a lot as much meat. I mean, that was my big takeaway. They're good. They're definitely good, but crawfish, I feel like a tail's got a lot in there. Crabs, not so much. Although I'm probably not doing it right either. So there's that.
No, you took my expert advice on the use of the crab hammer.
Yeah.
No, it's surprising for a creature that's that big that and the claws are not huge. They're not lobster claws, but substantial. You'd think there'd be more meat in there, but anyways, I think we're prejudiced, both of us, towards crawfish. So
and the Old Bay is on the outside. I mean, I guess there's some inside too, but that's a little interesting. It'd be funny to do a crawfish boil with Old Bay instead of the usual stuff we use to see what the difference was.
Yeah,
no,
I don't think
you're
so.
from here. You're like, all right. Next question, please. Let me stick to what I know, what I'm good at.
So, overall impression of the show, you got what it met your expectations?
It did. I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, I would use the word packed. I mean, there were annoying, but a good annoying thing is standing room only sessions because there were so many people there, which is how it was in the 2019, I think, one that we went to. It was back to that again. And so that was really good to see. Vendor hall seemed packed. The vendors I talked to thought the show went really well. I thought the show went really well. I got to see everyone. Would you say everyone was like in a good mood, which is nice?
Yeah, that was my recap post on Friday was the atmosphere. The fact that from the opening ceremony or the opening reception on Sunday night till the minute I left, I'm running into people and everybody's, happy, in a good mood. I think, people were just, as you said, great to see each other. And not just to see each other. It wasn't just a social thing, but it struck me that what you just said, the practical use, the peer-to-peer basis of this organization. Hey, Bubba, how you doing? Good to see you. Whatever happened with that Acme software install that you were going to put? I'm thinking of that. There's a lot of that interplay between these people. So it's a combination of social, but also very practical business orientation for those conversations. So just like anything, we like to get feedback. We like to get people saying that's a good idea instead of sitting here in my home in the COVID cone, like, hey, Tom, that was a good idea. Well, thanks, Tom. I thought it was a pretty good idea. I'll
Right.
try that later this afternoon. You know, it was
Well,
good to be in that bubble again.
you want to be with people that have actually done stuff. I mean, I have a lot of quote unquote good ideas that when I try to do them are not great ideas. And you can tell people the honest feedback, yeah, that didn't work, this worked.
Yeah.
And you get that with that group.
Yes, absolutely. So I was, it was a great joy to me to not only have the social interaction, but also have discussions about, in my case, you were trying to grab text messages off of that phone system and, from 5 employees, and how did that go, and so forth and so on. Right. Okay. Well, thanks so much for sharing. And when do you return to Louisiana?
Tomorrow, weather permitting. Flying in the summer is always, or the tail end of summer is always a little dicey, but we'll be back home in Louisiana, on tomorrow, hopefully.
Well, you'll be happy to hear. Here's my updated weather report. The storm that was building over the Yucatan Peninsula has dissipated. The storm that's out just to the east of the Leeward Islands right now is curving up away from the coast. So it's going to go kind of northeast. That's the prediction over the next few days. And the big front, it looked like a very big front that was moving off the west coast of Africa, is now predicted to hit some dry air and wind shear in a couple of days and also break apart. So knock on wood, the incredible luck we're having with storms. I'm waiting for a 2-week period where we have like 10 hurricanes in 2 weeks, because we've been dodging them all summer long. So flying hopefully will be pleasant for you. Great to talk to you. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you down here and home in a little bit.
All right. Thank you.
You bet. All right. Hi, everybody. Tom O'Connor from the Gulf Coast Legal Technology Center. I'm delighted to be here with Joy Heath-Rush to give us a recap on ILTACON22. We saw each other virtually every morning. You were at the press briefings. And by the way, kudos to Beth Ann, who did I thought, a really great job. I mean,
yeah, she's fantastic. And
we were sarcastic. We were intrusive. We were semi-obnoxious. Well, we were, reporting. So there you go. and she was patient with everybody, stopped and answered questions. If you saw her on the show floor or in the hallway, she was also equally patient. I had a little stomach problem one morning, and she went out of her way to inquire how I was doing. And I just thought she did a great job in a show that had ramped up significantly from, the experience, shall we put it, last year in Las Vegas. Yeah.
Yep.
So, nothing to do with you. That was all COVID related.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great to see it come back. So what was your overall take on the show? There's been, by the way, I don't know if you've seen a lot of post-show commentary. Joe Patrice had one this morning. I've done several. Ambrosi, Doug Austin. There's been a lot of buzz, and it's all been positive.
Well, I have gotten so many notes, Tom. That's what I can't get over, is just people who took the time to stop and say, well done to your team, to the volunteers who put together the education, which I thought was exceptional this year. Yep. And that is, when people take the time to do it, they're really happy. And that is fantastic. And a mix of first-time people who had never been to Iltecon before, real veterans who had been at, a couple of decades worth. Yeah.
I had the veteran sticker on my badge. I said, that number's not high enough.
Yeah, that's what people are like. Well, mine's somewhere over 20. I don't know. I'll take one of these. Yeah. One of these badges. So.
I have a very good friend of mine and Craig Balls, who lives down here. He actually lives in Baton Rouge. His name is Craig Bayer. He's not an e-discovery guy. He's a NetDocs consultant. And I think he's their #1 independent consultant And this was only his second ILTA. I believe he was in Orlando. And he goes when he sees things that he really wants to target on, because he has to pay the consultant fee.
Right.
And he doesn't mind doing that. He just needs to know he's good. And he came away just again for the second time that he's done it. The educational sessions were just what I needed. The thing I harp on all the time. It was people talking about real world problems.
Absolutely.
It wasn't people saying this is a good solution, or this is a, try that. This was like, hey, I tried this and it worked, or I tried this and it didn't work, and here's what we did to make it work. He said he came away just, I wouldn't say overjoyed. It wasn't a joyous experience, but he came away professionally totally satisfied with the experience. So,
that's what I want to hear, because it's all about, enhancing how you can do your work, right? And making lawyers more productive, making firms do better client satisfaction, make clients happier. I mean, all of that stuff. And if we have a little fun along the way, that's just the gravy.
And the other thing that I, like to point out, it's no news to you, is, I'm in the e-discovery bubble, right? And I start, I talk to guys like Craig Ball and Pete Pepitone from Dinsmore, and, people who tend to be in that Sedona / e-discovery Georgetown bubble. And this show is so much more than that. It cuts across everything at the firm. There's areas like document management, and there were several sessions that talked about the interplay between the two. But it's got all the experiences that those folks need to hear about. And it doesn't get dominated by one. I guess if there was anything that overarched everything, was the continued insistence on using the word AI to describe everything from an Egg McMuffin to
there certainly was a lot of that, but I always say that a conference is successful when you walk away with as many questions as answers. That is,
there you go.
I want people to walk away from a session going, I didn't even know I needed to ask that question. Boy, I had somebody say, I know it was a good week because I had 3 pages of to-dos for when I got home. And I think that's right. And there's also just the power of affirmation. Like, I'm not the only one experiencing this, or yes, we're thinking about trying that. Wow, somebody else tried it and was successful. I'm on the right track. That's just, that's great.
That's the strength of a peer-to-peer organization that really, that's where ILTA shines, right? I mean, people really do have that experience, and, and it shows every day. And it showed really for me right from the opening reception on Sunday night, where people were obviously happy to see each other, but in a mix of personal and professional, like, oh, there's my long lost document management buddy, right? Oh, I was lost without you. There's my time and billing guy, right?
Exactly.
At the Acme firm in Oakland, people built these friendships, but based on professional affiliations, and missed each other both on the personal level, but also on the professional interest level.
Well,
so
one of the very interesting things that happened is a number of organizations, especially on our business partner side, were bringing together teams that largely didn't know each other personally, except by video conferencing. And they had joined within the past 2 years. They used the opportunity to have sales meetings or team building or management strategy sessions. The same for some of our law firms. And some of our corporate law departments sent big numbers of people who work in various offices and never met in person. And that also is fantastic. That's one of the great kind of subtexts for the week that I thought was fascinating.
It was a learning experience for a lot of those people. Unfortunately, with a couple of, I'll mention one, the only sour grapes I had of the whole thing. The iManage people would not give Mike Quartararo a pass to their party on Wednesday night. And he asked twice. I happened to be in the booth when it happened. And he went over, and there were a lot of young kids. I call them kids, to me, they're under 60, they're a kid. But at one point, one of the women said, well, I have to go ask our sales staff.
and come back in half an hour. And he came back in half an hour, came back to the booth, and he said, no, they would not give me. He said, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't understand what they think ACEDS is. We're not a competitor. It was very interesting, but it seemed to me that that was an example of many of the vendors with young people in the staff still learning what goes on in our space. I mean, there's ACEDS, which had a great partnership with ILTA. It's formed that good partnership, and some people in the vendor space were clueless who they were.
Yeah, and I mean, and
like,
I managed, stepped up so much
yeah.
week with doing the breakfasts, and the party, and all of our business partners did. And that's one where, as you said, the young people, it's like, I'll have to ping Mike and say, you should have called me, because I bet I could have fixed that for you.
I told, in fact, I was in the booth with he and Maribel, and we were both saying, look, let's just go to the thing and we'll find Joy at some point, and we'll get you in. And then of course Mike was, no, forget it. I'm going to dinner with my wife, to hell with it. But yeah, learning experience. He said, it's Wednesday night. I don't need another 2 hours of cocktails. I'm good.
Yeah, Wednesday night was I missed the party except in passing, because I took Justice Kennedy and her mother to dinner.
Okay.
And that was a lovely, Tanya's a lovely person. And
yes.
Is
I've had dealings with her at Relativity Fest a couple of times.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah.
And
I will tell you, just before the I Manage party was the disco party out on the terrace, right? Which they just said, come, show your badge. Come on, everybody come down, which was wonderful. The weather was beautiful. They had a steel band and they had their own buffet, plus a Chesapeake crab boil.
Very nice.
And they had a small company rolling cigars, which it was the crowning glory for me. I don't drink, so give me a cigar. I'm in seventh heaven, right? It just, again, the weather was beautiful, and that was a great party.
Yeah, our business partners, as I said, just in so many ways, between parties and receptions and individual meetings, and really getting in the spirit of the superhero, Monday night opening, and just the fantastic thought leadership that they contributed to, with great panelists. And it was such, to me, a perfect expression of what ILTA is, which is the whole community working together to create something great.
I don't know if you were there at the ACEDS reception on Monday afternoon, and just before the vendor party. And Mike asked me to say a few words about Browning, because it was the 8th anniversary of Browning's passing. And of course I said something about Gail, because it was my first show without her, but also the costume party, which to her was the highlight of the league.
Oh yeah. That picture you sent of me and Gail was what, I mean, it just made my day.
Yeah.
And
it was wonderful. Even if she wasn't with a vendor, I said, she'd be in her room right now putting on a costume, even if she wasn't with a vendor this year.
She wouldn't care. She'd just be putting on her costume.
Exactly.
And,
superheroes are there.
Browning was a dear friend.
Oh, yeah. That was...
and one of the really beautiful souls in our entire business ever.
Yeah. And I mentioned a few others, Nigel Murray.
Nigel was, and he used to do that bike thing for the veterans every year. Through France, he was so committed to it.
Yep. He was a great guy. A great guy. So it's, unfortunately, we're getting to that age where people are leaving us, So let me ask about two things that were new, and I'm curious on your feedback. The first was I'm not sure exactly what you called it, but the startups, the emphasis on the startups. How did that go?
Well, I think they pretty much across the board had a great week. They liked having that row to themselves at the back of the exhibit hall.
Yes, great idea.
The exhibit hall layout, I thought, was exceptionally good this year. There was a lot of good flow kind of around the hall in general. They had a small but enthusiastic crowd on Thursday with lots of questions.
Okay.
But I think we'll do that differently next year. It was an experiment,
Yeah.
and the feedback I had was that 15 minutes for each was too long.
Yeah.
That it needs to be shorter, punchier, and earlier in the week.
Earlier
And
in the week. Yeah.
and so we'll get that feedback. And one of the things we're going to do, because Thursday is a rough day always,
Yes.
because a lot of people want to go to that Lean Six Sigma. And there were a couple of other sessions
Oh, that was my second question.
on Thursday.
Yeah.
And so I think what we're going to do, I was talking to Tyler about it, is offer a couple of probably 3, maybe 4 webinars through the course of the 4th quarter of the year, where we feature like 4 of the startups in each one and let a broader audience have a look at what they're doing.
That's a good idea.
How we tweak for next year. But
yeah,
you know, one of the things that a CIO told me long ago, and I loved the phrase, so I've never forgotten it. They rely on ILTA to stumble on new technology. I think that's a wonderful word. And so I like to make sure, of course, we appreciate the people that have been there year after year, of course. And they're always doing innovative, amazing things. But part of what people look to our organization for is to help them find that diamond in the rough.
What's new? What's a new topic? What's a new trend? Who's a new player? Yeah,
exactly right.
So I think that was great. So you mentioned the Lean Six Sigma. That was one I because of flight arrangements couldn't get to it on Thursday afternoon, and was deeply disappointed. How did that go?
Oh, I got rave reviews. I think the number, I'm gonna have to double check, but I think the number was 63 people got their white belt Lean Six Sigma, which I think is fantastic.
That's great.
Kim
Especially
Craig
on a
is
Thursday, right?
Yeah, and Kim is a real veteran of our industry.
Okay.
So she really understands. I mean, she's been in legal 37 years. How we all started, Tom, at the age of 5, we were so precocious. I don't know. But
how we got those computers in kindergarten? That's what I don't.
I call it law firm kindergarten. I went to law firm kindergarten. That's what I always say. But she did a terrific job. I just got such wonderful feedback. And she was joined by a recent law school graduate who was assisting her, and he had a lot of energy. He had a fresh, kind of different view of the industry. And that turned out to be a great tag team. And there was a lot of enthusiasm about that for sure.
Yeah, it was. I was, as I said, I was enthusiastic about seeing it because you hear a lot of the vendors, especially vendors who are into the corporate space, may have people on board who are white belts, but it never has had a great deal of application to our business processes. And so to see somebody finally say, look, we're going to focus it on legal and talk about what it means to you and how to make it apply to you, I thought that was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Well, there's so much in the past 2 years thinking about agile as an overall, not just a development methodology, but an overall initiative management. I wouldn't even say project management, initiative management methodology. And a lot of the organizations that are putting in innovation functions are using agile work practices to manage that and a variety of different kinds of initiatives. One of the other things I thought was interesting, and this came out of some of our corporate members, but it wouldn't surprise me to see it start happening elsewhere, is a new title, which is the Future of Work Officer. Or FOWO. So we were having a lot of fun with that. I've got FOMO of being a FOWO. I mean, we're having a lot of fun with the acronym, but it was people who are thinking about the long-term implications of hybrid working.
Interesting.
And where and how we're going to work and the makeup of the workforce. We have more generations in the workforce now at once than we ever have. And what does this mean about what work looks like and how we interact with each other?
Yeah.
And it's a fascinating conversation.
Great. Okay. Well, next year back to Orlando.
Yep.
And then a 4-year stint, I think, of Gaylords.
Yep. And then we're in Nashville the year after. And then we're back at National Harbor in 2025.
Okay.
And then I'd have to ask Dawn. I lose track. I lose track after that.
Yeah.
But we're at Gaylord's after next year through 27.
Good. Good. I just have an affinity for them. I think.
Me too.
You know,
they do, and I thought they did a great job for us this year.
Yeah, I particularly like that setting. I think it's just a beautiful setting. The lawn going down to the river when the sun goes down, and you know, it's just, you know, the planes coming overhead and
Gorgeous.
Yeah, to me,
and it's my
really...
hometown, so I'm always happy to go back. I live in Chicago for many years, but I grew up in DC.
I was going to say you were born in Oxon Hill. That's
yeah. Although I lived in Prince George's County, Maryland, for a long time, but I grew up in Fairfax, Virginia. And then I went to Georgetown and lived in the District of Columbia. My father was actually born in Capitol Hill Hospital, which doesn't even exist anymore. When it was on 4th and a Half Street Southwest, which doesn't exist anymore. So my family has been around the DC area for many, many, many years. And so it's always nice to go home. Of course, when I was growing up, where National Harbor is was nothing.
Yes.
There was nothing there.
It's just a field, right?
It was a field.
A rambling hillside.
We used to go fishing over on that side of the Potomac.
Oh, there you go. That would make sense. That would make sense. Yeah. Well, I love it. It's a great setting. It's always been a favorite of mine. Although I like Nashville as well. I think I like the city of Nashville. I enjoy going there. It's a lot of fun. So Orlando, not so much. You know, I'm getting old and grumpy, and being surrounded by little children is, you know, the Orlando International Airport and Daycare Center is not my favorite place to fly into.
My son, who is turning 35 in 2 weeks, is looking forward to Orlando. So some things never change.
And my son said the same. He attended his first ILTA last year in Vegas because he works with Joy Morrow.
I love her.
Yes, and I flew him up to be at this one. I was flying him up to be with this one. He got sick on Sunday morning, so I said, "Look, don't, stay home, get well. It's okay." And there'll be another one next year. And I said, "Next year's Orlando," and his eyes lit up.
Yeah, that was my son, almost identical situation. And then we'll have to see in 2019. I guess it was Iltecon 2019. I call it the three joys of legal tech. Joy Holly, Joy Morrow, and myself were all together in one place for the first time. So we said we need to do that. We need to do that again.
There you go. There you go. Well, great. I'll be looking forward to it. Thanks so much for your feedback. Thanks for a great show. Again, please give my best to Beth Ann, who I thought
most certainly will.
Was fabulous and put up with all of us and our cranky attitudes at 8 o'clock in the morning.
She loves her press. She loves her press. And so I will let her know, and she'll appreciate hearing it. And Tom, it's always a pleasure.
Beth, thank you so much.
Take care, my friend.
You too.